Hello, YouTube. This is going to be a video on various topics. I'll go ahead and I guess I'll go ahead and make a video. Didn't really make one yesterday or all day yesterday. And also, I just thought I wanted to post some stuff, or I thought I'd post some things because I just recently tried to post a comment several times on a thread or like a comment section on a video on YouTube. I'm not going to say who. Well, I guess I could. I mean, it's not harmful. I'm not going to say anything bad about them, but it's this Edge of Wonder is this kind of alien thing that they also talk about political issues. And honestly, they're a little bit too conservative for me, but I still like watching them. But I wanted to post something and it wouldn't take. And it's not their fault, I don't think. I think it's some kind of weird glitch with the YouTube system because they will allow comments. Like I posted a comment after that asking why wouldn't the comments take. So it's a bizarre thing, but anyways, that made me want to just go ahead and post a video and talk about a bunch of stuff. I'm going to talk about circumcision some in this video, but it's going to actually be more towards the end of the video because I don't want this entire fucking video to just be overridden by that one stupid thing. And actually, oddly enough, that was what this was going to be about. And it wasn't because they were promoting it, but they made like a joke, and I just thought I'd use that as a fucking chance to bring it up. And obviously I try to be very respectful, but it's probably better I didn't because it's not really on point anyways. But I'm going to start this video by talking about race. And I'm going to say this first off, right off the bat, I'm taking a lot of this source material from not only Jimmy Dore, but a single video called, he's talking about Bill Maher, and it's Jimmy Dore video called Bill Maher. Basically, it'll say Bill Maher as one of his first videos about how Bill Maher pretty much told us we have to vote for Democrats because we can't vote for Republicans. So it's kind of like love it or leave it. But it's like love it or leave it. And I'm going to be talking about prisons. And I wanted to say I don't want to get too racial because I'm a very non-racial person and I'm kind of, damn. I'm a very non-racial person and I don't like talking about race. But look, we all know, obviously, there's a giant racial disparity or problem in the justice system. And many, many more blacks and Hispanic people, especially black people, do go to prison more than white people. And we know that, and it's distorted the black community and wreaked havoc on them. But there's a lot of white people in jail, too, who probably shouldn't be in there from the lower classes. And it's not just a race issue. So I don't want to go too much into talking about that, but that is a problem. But again, I would rather just stick to the main issue. But beyond that, this started, I think it was Bill Maher, that's how this started. He was talking about Bernie Sanders wants to let felons vote. Well, here's what you're not even taking into consideration. First of all, a lot of convicts, from what I understand, can't vote even after they're out of prison because they were in prison. And when you have a legal system that is managed and ran by corporations and is a for-profit industry, and you have a corporate prison complex the way we you have a for-profit prison complex the way we do, I don't think it's right to take away someone's voting rights from them because they are, of course, American citizens. And you can argue maybe you shouldn't let them vote while in prison. But certainly that has nothing to do with once they're out of prison, they should be able to vote. Especially when we have as unfair of a system that, like people have talked about and Jimmy Dore talked about, and like I said, does target in many cases black people unevenly or unfairly. But just in general, I don't think it's right to take away people's votes. And really, just like with the entire democratic process here in America, we really don't have much of a democracy. I can't think of the word, but like plutocracy or something like that. But we have a system where it's essentially a management class controlling everything, and they give us small, more minor choices, and they also give us a array of various foods and junk food and things to choose from and so forth. But when it comes to real chores or actual legitimate democratic choices, you don't have any when it comes to political parties, and that's part of the problem. And that's an example. That's obviously the problem with democracy in this country, but it's just one more problem. But the prison problem of the prisoners voting is just one more example of democratic of us not being democratic. But there is other problems, like this is a number of things. But the point is, we need more people to vote for, and I'll go into that in a minute. I'll save that for the end of the video. We're closer to the end, anyways, you know. Liberals have actually been, and this is the same political party that, you know, Michael Moore created Fahrenheit 9/11. Sure, it was more of a takeoff of it was more of a takeoff on the I think it was Loose Change, and I think Alex Jones made a documentary about 9/11, but that, and we were also a lot of the hippies and politicos, and I remember Nixon trying to kick John Lennon. Well, I don't remember, but Nixon supposedly tried to kick John Lennon out of the country. So we have a history of not trusting authority and the government. So it's kind of disappointing to hear so many Democrats, really not really progressive liberals, but Democrats support and trust the CIA. Is to where in the past that would not have been the situation, or that would not have been the case. And these are really just Democrats, and it's many of the same Hillary voters and people that voted for Hillary from the upper middle class, a lot of pseudo-feminist, pseudo-intellectual people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, who trust the CIA. And also you have to keep in mind that the media is also hooked up with the CIA, or, you know, if you forget, unless you are to forget that, of course, Anderson Cooper was a former CIA agent, and he was a CIA employee. And Rachel Maddow pretty much is, Jimmy Dore said in his video, she pretty much gives the talking points first, and then the CIA takes them later. And Ellen has been hooked up with the CIA since going back at least since 2011. So when she was doing all that dancing and trying to get you to vote for certain people, again, you're not seeing her opinion on anything. You're seeing her shell and whore establishment politicians that the CIA and the government want you to vote for. And that really is the problem with the media. And we have to start to utilize all forms of media. I know they talked about comedy, but comedy, music, the music industry, film, television, and other forms of what the entertainment and art that the neoconservative in the military and the corporate complex that, you know, that the CIA and the neoconservatives, the corporate complexes and so forth, the corporate complex, the banking, the corporate media complex that controls the United States has really hijacked and taken over. They have even hijacked on a certain level, the education system. And we really have to utilize everything and use everything to our disposal to fight back, just like the hippies did. And this is a peaceful form of revolution, and to subvert the machine. It's like literally like the band, you know, Rage Against the Machine. And we need to start to use art and entertainment to do that. So that's something interesting about the media. Then it's Chris Wallace. Chris Wallace got goosebumps when he heard that they might be going to impeach Trump. Now, I realize Jimmy Dore and Secular Talk and I was going to say nihilistic, maybe Nile like Egypt. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. I drank too much. The point is, a number of people were going to, I know a number of people don't like Trump, and there's reasons not to like Trump, but the point is they don't like the man, or I'm talking Chris Wallace here in Fox News, some of the people inside the company, they don't dislike the man because of any legitimate reasons, because like they think that, you know, he got rid of transgender people in the military. Well, that's not their problem with him. Their problem with him is essentially mainly that he ended the warfare in Syria. He's pulled troops out of Syria, brought some of the jobs back, stood up to China and Chinese trade, and is at least looked at as being a free speech advocate, even if he's not. He's looked at that way. And there's a number of reasons why they don't like the man. And it has nothing to do with progressivism or liberalism, or they don't like him for that reason. These are chicken hawk establishment, Republican, conservative Republicans, neoconservative Republicans that are the same people behind the Afghan war, the Iraq war, and a number of other wars. And they don't like him for those reasons. And it has jack shit to do with what you or I or anyone else might think of Trump. But just, seeing the chicken hawk Chris Wallace talk about, he gives goosebumps, again, goes back to the CIA, and it's not this CNN, it's not this NBC. I want to save circumcision for the end of the video. But of course, as I had said, it's the CIA asset. They like to promote that because corporations and the medical establishment has made a lot of money off genital mutilation. So of course they want to promote that, and they don't want any real information being leaked out. And they promoted that on Fox Television. During the daytime television of Fox News a couple of months ago, I know they fucking promoted it because I saw footage of it. That's hard to find online for some reason, but it's up. They did do that. But again, that's why they're against him, and it goes back to a lot of different things. And now I'm going to shit on conservatives some. Drag queen abortion. I know Alex Jones is pissed because of drag queen abortion. Now look, first of all, ill, but second of all, yeah, it's postmodern art. It's happened somewhere in America and in the world, and you can find anyone that's going to do any kind of form of stage performance, especially when you're talking about or dealing with postmodern art. So in postmodern art, you will have drag queens pretending to abort babies. But it was, I guess, this drag queen pretending to give birth and then aborting an infant. And, while that might be gross, that's going to happen. Now, there is a legitimacy to Alex Jones's point that why do you allow that, but you won't allow him to talk? I agree, but I don't disagree in that the drag queen shouldn't be able to do what the drag queen did. I think they should be able to. But I also think you have to let Alex Jones say what Alex Jones has to say, whether you like him or not. Everyone should have an ability to speak and freedom of speech and expression. And that drag queen, as weird as it was expressing themselves. What the point was, I don't know, but they were expressing themselves. And this is just another example of Alex Jones seizing upon the weird in the drag community, or weird things drag queens do, as a way of attacking them. That's just another example of them doing that. And I'm going to go into a number of other stories about them doing this. But let's talk about transgender people. And I'm sure Alex Jones is against this because he's anti-LGBTQ. We all know that. But yeah, damn. But yeah, I know that Elizabeth Warren wants to cover sexual reassignment surgery for transgender people. Now, of course, the Republicans want to bitch about they don't like how their tax dollars is being spent. Well, for decades you covered circumcision of infants, who, by the way, have done nothing wrong, and people and the rest of us, whether we agreed or fuck me. But anyways, we had to cover that whether we agreed or not. And then, of course, it came out, by the way, later on, many of the hospitals weren't even using the pay or the tax dollars to fund medication for the children. And the hospitals and some of the crack doctors that were doing this were pocketing the money and not using pain medication for children that they were mutilating. So they were performing operations on children with no anesthesia, including, even a local, because you can't use a general on a child anyways. But they were doing that on children in the United States of America with no anesthesia on infants. And then you wonder why you have a history of so many neurological problems in current America. But that's not even the point. And I've talked to you about before, they go into shock, children can bleed to death, so forth. But anyways, as far as transgender people goes, and that's a bit off topic, but transgender people have every right to be their identity. And if you are a transgender person and you identify, by the way, as a transgender person, then you should, and you think a sexual reassignment surgery is necessary for you, then you should have a right to that surgery. Now, just giving advice, I don't particularly recommend it, but that's your choice. I'm not big on recommending any surgeries, but I mean, if you want to, go for it, And I think U.S. tax dollars should cover that, including for criminals, because their crime didn't make them any less of a U.S. citizen. Because even if they're in prison, they're still U.S. citizens. And if they think they need a sexual reassignment surgery, then they should have the right to do that. If they want that. If they don't, then they shouldn't. But again, how many transgender, but beyond that, as far as this being a big expense to the United States or to the country, how many, how many transgender people do you honestly legitimately think are in the United States anyways? And then compare that to the number in prison, and then compare that to the number that would actually get the surgery. You're not talking about a lot of fucking people. So it's not like it's going to break the taxpayer back. You want to know what breaks the taxpayers back, who's bailing out banks and corporations and automobile companies and the automotive industry, and along with all these banks that were fucking them out of their homes and making them live in tent cities, and it pretty much broke the entire economy, and we still haven't really recovered from it yet. That was what broke you. Tax dollars, you had taxpayers back, not this. So there's that. Here's some bullshit about this was of course from a This was of course from a InfoWars video, once again bashing and attacking the drag queens, talking about the sexualization and of drag children. Of course, this is nonsense, because again, you're not understanding the difference between, and I keep talking about this and they keep bringing it up, where I talk about the difference and the authentic difference, the legitimate difference between sexuality and gender identity. One's in the brain, the other is not in the brain. Scooby-Doo. Anyways, one's in the brain, the other's between the legs. And really, it's all in the brain. Still, there is a legitimate, authentic difference between having a gender identity issue and having a different sexual orientation. And it's not the same. And dressing girls' clothing, if you're a little boy or a grown man or anything else, does not make you sexual, or that doesn't mean you're engaging in a sexual act at all. It doesn't. And I've explained that, and they know that. They keep going back to this bullshit rel of them trying to tell everyone else who they are and what is what, and they don't fucking know. They don't know what they're talking about. They want to tell everybody else what gender identity they should identify as. Cultural relativism. I butchered that one. But here's something. This was a case of a woman that went to, I'm guessing, some Middle Eastern country and was killed. And this is a different issue. But there is a such thing as cultural relativism. For example, we say hoodectomy, or the lesser form of female circumcision in America, is absolutely apparent. And I agree, it is disgusting. But you know what else is disgusting? Male circumcision. And we did that for the same reason they say female circumcision is done, to kill sexual sensation in the male. That was the reason it was promoted by a guy named John Harvey Kellogg, and we know that. And that went on for a very long time. And that is still going on. In fact, I'm confused because my dog's doing something. Anyways, just for the record, hoodectomy and male circumcision are both bad. But because we are in America and we do that to males, and they do that to males and females in the Middle East, we say, well, that's bad, but this is okay. No, they're both bad. And if they're not bad, then neither one's bad. It should be one or the other. And I say they're both bad. But anyways, I just figured I'd go ahead and cover that in one broad stroke, so I don't have to, make two videos. And that's about it. P666.